All right, so today we are looking at applications of inequalities, and or what you need to know is we're really looking at word problems and trying to figure out how to write them, how to go about them, how to do these things, okay? So this is the last thing that we're going to do before we take our test, and our test is scheduled for this Friday, April 30th, all right? So you've got applications of inequalities, okay? And here's the things that I just want to remind you about. Is what each inequality is and try and help you out and make sure you're ready to go. Okay, so the first one is when the inequality faces forward. Okay, and there's nothing there. This is known to be greater than. Okay, so that's what you've got to remember. There's nothing underneath it. The inequality faces to the left. That has got to be known as greater than. Okay, now if the symbol faces the opposite direction, okay, still no line underneath it, that is known as less than. Okay, that is known as less than. Now, when you add the line underneath it, it really only changes one thing. If it faces forward and it's got the line underneath, it is going to simply be greater than, or equal to. And all that means is that it could be the same number as whatever is after it. And if it faces the opposite direction with the line underneath it, that is just going to be less than or equal to. Okay? So those are the inequalities. We have been working with those. We have been using those to graph them and read them and everything else. Okay? So nothing is overall very, very different there. It's just something to look at and try and get going. So now what we're going to do is work some of these examples together and then move on, and you're going to have some practice on the back, and that's what you're going to be expected to finish up for today. Okay? So when we look at these examples, it's just like writing the equations that we did earlier in the year, right? You've got to identify the key pieces of information, figure out what they're saying, so on and so forth, okay? So, right here, in example number 1, it says, my goal is to watch Frozen 2 at least twice during spring break. So what we've got to do is figure out some of the key stuff, okay? So one of the first key things that I figured out was that it said I wanted to watch it at least how many times? Twice. So that means it needs to be at least twice during spring break. Well, I'm writing an inequality for that, okay? Are there multiple things that I'm looking at? No, it's just one thing. It's the number of times I watched the movie, okay? So really what I'm thinking about is the number of times I watched the movie, which is X, okay? So I'm going to say, hey, X is number of times I watch the movie, okay? So that's what my one variable is. Do I need a second variable here? Is there anything else it's asking? No, there's not. So it's just the number of times that I watch the movie. Well, how many times does it say I'm going to watch it? At least twice. Here's what you've got to understand what that means. If I'm watching it at least twice, that means I've got to watch it more than once, but can I watch it just 2 times? Yeah, that's at least twice, right? Could I watch it 3 times? What about 4? 5? 7? 21? Yeah. Really, it's anything that is equal to 2 or bigger than 2. Because you want to watch it at least twice. I don't want to be below 2. I want to be 2 or bigger. So the one that I would use here is greater than or equal to, because I want X to be bigger, equal to, or bigger than the number 2. Are y'all okay with how we talked through that to figure it out? We knew that the number had to be 2 or bigger, so with our one variable, we need that variable to be equal to 2 or bigger than 2. So that is greater than or equal to. Questions? Good. All right, let's jump down to example 2. Your mom told you that you had to have less than 18 pairs of sneakers at a time. Your mom told you you have to have less than 18 pairs of sneakers at a time. Give me something big that you could take away here. Well, I know one thing is it's got to deal with 18 pairs of sneakers. So 18 pairs of sneakers is something big. Can you give me something else? Less than. That is absolutely correct. So they come out and tell you which inequality to use here, right? They tell you that your mom said you have to have less than 18 pairs of shoes. Well, just like before, let's define. What is X going to be equal to? No. X is the number of pairs of shoes. That just gives us an idea. We know when we're saying X, we're saying the number of shoes. Okay? Well, we know that X has to be, what was in red? What did we find out? Less than how many? 18. So looking at that, okay, you just have to know, hey, I've got to be less than 18. So that means it can be any number that is less than 18. Is there any questions on that? You feeling okay? You see how it's just picking out the number of something that sets your limit, and then it's going to be what inequality are you using? Okay? Number 3, I want to spend no more than 6 hours cleaning my house over spring break. Okay? So, what is the number that we're told? 6 hours. What is the information? Do we want to spend more, less? Well, it says you want to spend no more. So, when it says no more than that, well, does that mean you could spend 6 hours? Yeah. Or anything less. So, which inequality are we going to use here? Less than? Just less than, or is there something else with it? Or equal to. You are correct. Okay? Why it is less than or equal to is because you could spend 6, but anything else has to be lower. Okay? Now, what is X going to equal? Number of hours. That's 100% correct. It's the number of hours. Okay? So you know X is going to be less than or equal to 6. We got all that because X was the number of hours cleaning. We know that 6 was as high as we would go. So everything has to be less than or equal to 6. Do you see how we're just literally looking at what they give us, going through it, and trying to knock it out? How do y'all feel about that?
Well, how can you tell if there's a line?
How you can tell? Well, when it says like here, it says no more than. Well, that means it could be 6, but it can't be anything bigger than that. If it can equal the number, you need the line underneath. If it has to be, like in number 2, less than the number, that means it can't equal it, you don't put the line underneath. Okay? All right. What we're going to do is we're going to do one more together, and then I'm going to hit pause and let you have about 4 to 5 minutes to try the last 2 on your own, and then we'll check them. Deal? All right. So let's look at number 4. I drank more than 3 Coca-Colas today. You're right. More than is the important part. And then the number that we're setting at is 3. Okay? Well, it says more than 3. Can it equal 3? No, it doesn't say at least 3. It says more than 3. So I can't just stop at 3. I've got to be bigger than 3. So here that's got to be, how do you represent something bigger than? That is going to be your greater than symbol. What is X going to equal? Bless you. No, X does not equal a number. Yeah, the number of Coca-Colas. You're doing really good with that, Jordan. That's perfect. So then when you write your inequality, x, you know that number has to be bigger than 3.
X already equals,
X is going to equal whatever the variable is. Whatever we're trying to say, you have to be bigger than or less than. The number is what goes on the other side of the inequality. Okay? All right. So what I'm going to do is give you a second to work on 5 or 6. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes on here, and then we will go over those. Ready, set, go. Okay, so after giving you some time there, let's go through this. Let's see how you did. So I'm just going to work it, and then I'm going to look at you and take a poll and see you got it right. Number 5, Chick-fil-A can hold no more than 150 people at a time. Pre-COVID worksheet. Not funny? Okay. All right. So looking here, the number is 150 people. Okay. And what we know is at Chick-fil-A, it says it can hold no more than. Okay. No more than 150 people. Here's the question you've got to ask yourself. Does that mean it can hold 150? Yes. So that means it could equal 150, but then it has to be what than that? Lower. So that means our inequality has got to be less than or equal to. Okay? Now, we do have to define what our x value is going to be. What is x value going to be? Number of people. That is 100% correct. Y'all are doing a really good job with this. So then as we write our inequality, x less than or equal to 150. How many of you got that right? Sweet.
oh, I wrote number, how many people Chick-fil-A hold?
Okay. Well, that's fine. No, that's fine. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. It's the same thing. Yeah. Yeah, that was the exact same thing. I just went a little bit shorter. Okay? Now, number 6. You decide you want to watch at least 3 hours each day of Netflix over spring break. Okay? Well, the big thing I notice is the number of hours is going to be 3. And then it says you wanted to watch at least. Okay? Well, to watch at least means what? Could it equal 3? Yeah, because at least 3, but then everything else would have to be, huh? No. It says you want to watch at least 3. So it's got to be greater than. Everything else has to be bigger than 3. So it would be greater than or equal to. You got to think. First, could it equal the number? Check, it could. So we know it's the or equal to. But then it has to be bigger than 3, because at minimum, you want to watch 3 hours. All right? So the next thing is defining what does x equal? Number of hours. That is correct. Or the number of hours watched, or the number of hours you watch Netflix. So x greater than or equal to 3. Okay? All right. There is that. Now, what you're going to do is flip over to the back, okay? As you flip over to the back, these are your extra practice problems, okay? That's what I want you working on the rest of the time to make sure you get that done. If you've got a question, ask me or let me know. Those of you at home, you can shoot me an email or ask something that way. All right? Let's get to work. Ready, set, go.